Greetings, folks. It's Woody from Obadiah's, and we have the Oval Cookstove final day. I've been burning the stove now for a while. I don't know, a couple weeks anyhow. I've got the feel for it. Honestly, going into it, I was a little skeptical. Coming out of it, I'm impressed with the stove. I'm not just saying that because it's for sale, of course, and because I sell them. Truthfully, I am impressed with this little stove. Outside of the fact that the wood has to be so small, but as far as a cook stove, if you have a main source of heat and you're using this, as a cook stove, or if you were down south, you don't need a ton of heat. You want something that heats fast, that bakes well, the oven works extremely well, then I would highly recommend this stove. So I burned it a couple weeks. First video I think you guys watched me, I smoked the place up. Since I've had it, I've burned it. I can get an overnight burn out of it, about 8 hours. We're burning fir and larch. We're up in Montana. I have to resplit all my wood. Maximum length that we determined is 15 inches. So, this is fir and larch. We've done a YouTube, I think, and showed you how do you know your wood's good to burn. A couple things, you can wrap them together and they should make a loud crack like you heard and splinter. So anyhow, the trick to burning this stove is kindling, lots of it. And so I split up some wood and I make myself some kindling like that. And I load it in the firebox. That's kind of the trick to the stove. You don't want to put too much wood in there. And just one small piece of something, nice and dry, ready to burn. Load it up. Check your stove, make sure your damper. It's in the back here. That goes to your chimney. Make sure it says open. And with this stove, open up your little damper on the bottom. It's a little flap right here that goes underneath your you have a grate that you can pull out and push in to control how much airflow comes in. And to tell what you got, you can kind of pull you out and stick your head in there and line it up. When the ash falls out, you're fully open. And push it all the way in to be fully closed. So I'm going to be about halfway. That should work. Take a torch. That's what I like to use. This top is naturally going to smoke. It'll eventually will seal itself. That is just the drawback of the stove. They don't really have much draft going. The chimney is totally cold. So you can cut that down by shutting your door here. So you've got a flap down here you can open. On your door, there's a draft control that you can slide. It's got an O stamped on it for open. And an O stamped on this side for off. So, anyhow, if the tabs slide out, the holes are open. You're pulling in air. What does that do? It cools the door down. If you're standing in front of the door cooking and the door's hot, you can open this and it air cools the door. Kitchen Queen has the same feature. It's kind of cool. So the stove can be hot and this door here doesn't get extremely hot. So if you're cooking in front of the stove, that's a good feature. This little flap here is a nice feature for starting your stove once you get it going. There's another draft down here that you can open and close. It's a bell shape. You also have two on the side that you can open when you're starting your stove to get it going quicker. The more air you can get into the firebox, the faster it's going to light. So, stove's going, I can hear it. It's going to start crackling and popping. No smoke coming out now. And the stove is, you can almost touch it. So it's cold. It's getting hot quick. So the main thing that really impresses me is how hot the stove gets so quickly. So overall, I'm impressed. It's a good stove. So if you're looking for a good cook stove, you have a backup source of heat. You like, you know, it doesn't matter how big your firebox is because you're just cooking with it. You want the antique look, good choice, good stove. For survival, you know, they've worked for 100 years. Me, as a cook stove, yeah, even in a survival situation, if you had a wood backup, you know, wood main boiler that was your main source of heat and all you were doing was cooking on this, yeah, it'd be a good stove. Only thing I don't like, and it's a trade-off, I don't like the top. It doesn't fit tight. Everything is really loose. I mean, there's the plates, they get warped. There's big gaps. So if you have a good draft, good chimney, nobody has any issues with smoke in your house, it's a good choice of a stove. Now there's a thing that you can do, it's called a draw collar. A friend of mine designed this thing, and I highly recommend it for this kind of a stove. It's called a draw collar, and what it does is it's got a coil inside, and the coil heats up, and what it does is it creates a draft for your chimney, and it would install, you know, in the chimney, you know, about at that level, and you would just simply install this right into your chimney, and then it's got a little plug that can be either plugged into a switch or whatever. The way it's made, it's got a high temperature covering that goes over the cord, so if the cord accidentally does lay on the stove, it's engineered in such a way that it's protected. It's actually upside down. You demo the product, you better do it right, I guess. And I'm not doing this because I get paid or anything. I'm doing this because I bought one of these and I tried it, and it actually works, and it works well. And this is a particular situation where I would recommend it. The reason I would, if you have an open plate like this, you're not always using the stove, you're lighting when it's cold, you got the issue of the smoke. You can deal with that issue if you create negative pressure in your chimney first. You picture your chimney as a vacuum cleaner. You're able to plug this thing in, and like a vacuum, as it heats up, the chimney will start vacuuming. It'll start drafting. Now, it doesn't do it immediately. It takes a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. The longer you let it go, the better it'll draft. So if you have any chimney issues at all, the draw collar on this kind of a stove will prevent the stuff like we're having going on right now. It's back puffing. Now, if you live in a house where you have plenty of ventilation, nobody has asthma, then it's probably not an issue. But you can actually see the flames in the stove from above. That's the firebox right there. I've got my window cracked. So I have plenty of draft. Now, what the draw collar would do is as the chimney heats up, it creates draft. Well, it would be like having a warm chimney already. So when you load the stove, it would overcome the issue. You can see the smoke right now pouring out of the corner. So to deal with that, you simply close the draft. But even closing the draft, hopefully you could see that. I'm not bad-mouthing the stove. I've just got a wife that has asthma, so I have to deal with this stuff. So people that have a family member that have asthma, you learn a lot of things that you wouldn't take into consideration. So these are the things I like to point out to folks so you understand before you buy this kind of a stove. Other than that, if none of that's an issue, it's a great stove. It heats extremely quickly. As you can see, that fan's kicking off already. We'll get some readings on this dude. On the top, we're at over 500 degrees on our hot plate. That plate over there is 169. This is our last burn. I'm kind of showing you the things I've learned in 2 weeks of using the stove. The fact that it does leak smoke, and for folks that's an issue, it's a big issue. It's something that you can't ignore. For folks that it's not an issue, then whatever, it's your choice. It will affect you over time. It's not healthy to have a stove that leaks smoke, and that's a fact. So it's called particulate. You're breathing it 24/7. So I've got a real well ventilated house, an extremely good chimney, a draw collar that you can plug in so you have good draft. Take measures not to overfire your stove or let it smolder. This is a great choice. It bakes well, it cooks well, it looks like a cook stove. But these are the drawbacks in Grandma's cook stove, and the fact that it takes small wood. So there you go, folks. I hope I've given you an honest assessment of this stove. So this is So Long to the Oval, and this is Woody from Obadiah's. Be blessed.